Does it strike anybody else as a little odd that we don't ever see the resurrection in any of the four Gospels? I mean, we in all four Gospels, we see Jesus taken down from the cross. We see Jesus laid in the tomb. And then in all four Gospels, we hear slightly different stories about the disciples finding the tomb empty on the third day. And we're told in three of the Gospels that he's risen and that he's going on ahead, or that he's coming back, or that he's ascending. But we never actually see or hear stories or hear tell about the actual moment, about the actual resurrection. The actual process of the resurrection is a mystery. It's in between the lines there. We don't know. Was there an earthquake and a booming voice? Were there trumpets and bright lights? Or was it more like just Jesus sort of rolling over and opening his eyes and smiling, waking up from a long sleep? We don't know. The resurrection itself is very much Jesus' private experience. It's between Jesus and the Father and maybe the angels, but we don't know. Jesus doesn't talk about it. Jesus doesn't tell us what it was like to be resurrected. Jesus doesn't tell us what it felt like, what it looked like. And nobody else was there to see it. And so that means we don't get to analyze it. We don't get to chop it up. We don't get to dissect it and explain it and explain why it had to be this way and why it couldn't have been that way. We don't get to take the resurrection apart because we don't see it. We don't get to pin down the resurrection. We don't get to pin down Jesus on this point. Mary Magdalene tries to hold Jesus, tries to hold him down, sort of. It doesn't actually say that she tried to hold him, but there's this line from Jesus, "Mary, do not hold on to me." And so we imply, or we infer that she tried to hold on to him. And there's this long artistic tradition of showing Mary and Jesus at the tomb with her grabbing at the hem of his garment and him pulling away and pushing her away. And usually with the Latin words, "Noli me tangere," do not hold me, do not touch me, do not hold me down. But we don't know if that's actually how it happened. We just know that Jesus says, "Do not hold me." We don't hear that she actually held him. What we do hear is that she's worried about his body. She's come to the tomb to take care of the body and sees that the stone is rolled away, that the body is missing. She goes for the other disciples, comes back, and the body's not there. She's worried about the body, and then there are these angels in the tomb, and she doesn't know where they came from, and then the gardener is there. It's just all a big mess, and she's trying to take control of this situation. She's trying to be a good church lady, and she's trying to do what she's supposed to do and deal with the gardener and deal with these angels and take care of things and restore some sense of order and control to this situation. And when Jesus says, "Mary, don't hold me," I think what Jesus is saying is, "Mary, pay attention. Look at me. This situation is not as it was. The situation is not what you think it is. The world has changed." Jesus is saying to Mary, it's not just a matter of undoing the crucifixion. This isn't just a matter of Jesus undoing his own death. Jesus is saying to Mary, we're not where we were last week. This isn't just a do-over. This isn't just undoing Jesus' death. This is moving through death. This is moving beyond death. This is taking death and Jesus is saying, Mary, don't try to put me in a box, literally and figuratively. Don't worry about my body. Don't worry about the gardener. Don't worry about all these things that you're trying to get back under control. Mary, I am ascending to your Father and my Father. Not I have ascended, not I'm going to ascend. I am ascending. It's happening right now. My Father and your Father. To me, that says you're coming along with me. We're all ascending to the Father. Mary, Don't pin me down. We don't get to see the mechanics of the resurrection, but we get to live in the world after the resurrection. We get to live in the aftermath. We get to live in this world that is completely changed, this relationship with God that's completely changed, this relationship to sin and death that's completely changed. We don't know how it happened, but that tomb is empty. We don't know how it happened. We don't know who did it, but that stone was rolled away. That stone that was there is rolled away, and the tomb is empty, and Jesus is risen. We don't know how. We don't know how it happened, but Christ has conquered death, not just for himself, but for all of us. God himself experienced pain and suffering and death in human flesh, and God overcame it. Jesus took the worst that humanity could throw at him, the worst of the pain and the violence and the suffering and the humiliation. Jesus took it all and absorbed it into himself and overcame it, overcomes it yet today. Human beings killed Christ. Human beings killed the Son of God, and somehow Christ turned that into a way of reconciling humanity to God. It doesn't make sense. How does this work? How? We don't get to know. We don't get to analyze. We don't get to dissect this and explain it away. We can't take control of this. We can't take charge and put it back in order, because nothing is as it was before. Everything is changed. It's a new world. We don't know how it works. We don't know how we got here. We don't need to. All we need to do is give thanks and praise that we are reconciled. We need to give thanks and praise that Christ is risen. Deal with it.